Big tip, everyone, post info, not ego. If you're in business, you're in show business. And that basically means that you've got to make it known to people that you're making a ruckus. That will get you in the door. Best piece of advice I've been given in my 40 years of real estate is make sure that you've got a pitch.
Natural jobs in real estate in general, they're not that hard, right? What's hard in real estate is consistently showing up, consistently having a great attitude, being motivated, being hungry. Tom, I'd love to hear, and I'm sure the audience would love to hear, your best tips after 40 years in real estate. It's a long time. And Tom said to me, Dan,
agents, welcome to the Get Keen podcast, your number one destination for learning how to get the most out of your real estate career. I'm Dan Lee, founder of Plum Property, one of Queensland's largest independent real estate offices, and Plum Partners, where we've helped dozens of agents create, run and grow their very own agencies. On Get Keen, I chat to high-performing agents, principals, and agency owners, so you have the tools, strategies, and insights to grow your business and live the best life for yourself and your family. Now let's get keen.
we are back, we are keen. And if you're listening to this, I know who you are. You're probably a real estate agent that wants to get ahead. And good on you for taking some time out of your day. I don't know what you're doing, going for a run, getting to the gym, listening to this Get Keen podcast. And I've got one of the most well-known men in real estate, one of the best coaches, trainers, mentors. I love working with this guy. You all know him. You love him. If you don't know who he is and you're in real estate, do you even real estate? We're talking about Mr. Tom Panos, the king of scripts and dialogues. Welcome again to the show, Tom.
Thank
Great
you,
to have
Dan.
you here.
Second time on the show, second training session with your wonderful group of people.
It was an amazing training session. I tell you what, principals, if you haven't had Tom into the office to train the team, do it. He's not even as expensive as he should be. He's bloody awesome. He gets the team riled up.
I loved working with you, doing it as a co-pilot. And the reason, Dan, I like it is that not only are you the owner of this great company, but your audio matches your video. You're only saying things to people that you've done. And there is a tendency sometimes in real estate where people that have never done a listing presentation, have never done a prospecting call, have never put a deal together, say, this is how you do it. And that's not you.
Well, I appreciate that, Tom. I am speaking from experience. And, you know, it's part of the reason I like working with you as well, because you've been in real estate 40 years now, all right? So that means you got into real estate when I was born.
I've rounded it up like everyone rounds up their numbers, okay. Right? So it's 38 and a half.
38 and a half, close enough to 40. That's a long time in real estate, guys. That's an entire generation and more. And Tom's just got so much experience under his belt. When he was a younger lad, he was an agent, he was a business owner. He went off and he did other careers in sales, and he's come back to real estate, and for years now, he's a world-class trainer, and he really knows what he's talking about, which is why I like to get involved with him. But I had a chat with Tom before he got on the show today, and I said, Tom, I'd love to hear, and I'm sure the audience would love to hear, your best tips after 40 years in real estate. It's a long time. And Tom said to me, Dan, perfect. I've got 7 of the best tips in real estate that I'd like to share with agents and principals across the nation. And that's what we're going to talk about today, Tom. So I'll get started with you. Can you tell us, just give us a brief, like a couple of minutes, your whole real estate journey. What does that 40 years look like in a nutshell?
Probably 5 to 7 years as a real estate sales agent.
Yeah.
Probably 7 to 9 years as a real estate owner of a real estate business.
Yep.
And the remaining part of my career has been in media, education, training, and coaching. So it is 40 years with the core thing being real estate. It has not been 40 years listing and selling, but it has been 40 years in auctioneering, coaching. I do still go to listing presentations with my clients in Sydney for feedback. And to this day, Dan, 38 and a half years later, rounded up to 40, I still have a spring in my step. I still like it. There are bits of the job I like better, and on certain times I have better seasons than others, but overall I cannot see myself doing anything else but this.
And it's what I love about Tom is he's staying relevant. I mean, he's still out there on the weekends calling auctions. He's having those face-to-face meetings with sellers, with agents. He's in listing presentations. He's not just one of these coaches/trainers that's not actually doing it, just teaching theory, but not actually practicing what they preach. But Tom is the real deal. And so, Tom, your 7 best tips in real estate. Let's start at number 1. What is it?
The first best piece of advice I've got is going to help your audience, Dan, get more appraisals, because more appraisals equals more money. And it's this simple concept that once a property has been sold, you've got to show up to the final inspection before settlement. What you should be doing is rocking up there with a gift, not treating it like an inconvenience, because there's a thing called in business peak end effect. And the peak end effect says the end of the relationship in a process is what a client remembers the most. When you're on holidays, you remember the last few days the most. When you watch a movie, you remember the last 5 minutes the most. When you're listening to Dan Lee on stage, you remember how he finished his talk. And the final inspection before settlement is something along the lines of, here, take an hour, take your time, measure what you've got to do. Here's a gift, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. Have coffee and breakfast on us. Go to our local cafe. They'll look after you tomorrow. And by the way, Dan, as of today, you move from being a buyer to being a VIP client. And as that, you get a free health update on your asset every year. I'm locking it in today. So on the 15th of January 2026, I'll be popping in. Would you prefer 10 o'clock or 5 in the afternoon? You've locked it in. Now, Dan, look at the numbers. You sell 50 properties, you've got 50 appraisals set up the following year. Then you've got the second year, you sell another 50 properties. That's 50 appraisals you've got from year 1, another 50, you're doing 100 appraisals. By year 5, you've got about 200 or 300 price update appraisals locked into your diary, and that is going to give you a heap of information and leads because they've got friends and family and neighbours.
That's so simple, isn't it? It's honestly like, God, it's so basic, just that after sales service. Doing that correctly, so important. I can't, but like, I look back and I cringe at my first, like I got good at it near the end of my sales career because I understood it more, but there were years where I didn't show up to the pre-settlement. I'd send my associate, or I'd just have a gift at reception and I wasn't even there to congratulate them or whatever because I'm too busy doing something else. And just leaving that final touch behind just is disappointing for a client. And then so many times you sell the property, or agents, they sell the property, they move on, they're looking for the next seller, and they don't nurture that beautiful relationship that they've just spent a month creating, because all they're looking for is like, who's selling next week? It's so important to nurture that relationship. That is a definite sale for you.
And then the same agent 8 years later says, oh, they're not loyal to me.
Yeah.
I sold them that property. They didn't even give me a look in. Please remember, everyone, recency trumps loyalty. Stay recent. That means be in their living room every year, just having a casual conversation. So that to me is the first best piece of advice I was given.
It's huge. It's huge. I mean, after 5 years, you've got, if you sold 50, you've got 250 appraisals in a year to do. That's a business in itself.
Yeah.
If you just did that, now add on all the other stuff you do, you're gonna make a lot of money just with that one tip. I absolutely love it. Number 2, Tom.
The second best piece of advice I've been given in my 40 years of real estate is make sure that you've got a pitch. We call it a listing presentation. We call it a story that is based on house price maximization and not on trophies. And what I mean by that, Dan, is they all come in and they show their iPads and their presentation folders. Look at me, I'm an award winner. Look how good I'm going. The best of the best are going in there and they're saying, they don't care about me, they care about themselves. And what do they care about? how is their house worth more money with me than the other 2 or 3 agents they're calling in? So the best that I know, go in with a clear objective. This, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, is the process that's going to get you what you want. And as I said at training today, Dan, sell them what they want, but give them what they need.
Yeah, I love what you've just said. And look, you know, results are important, but we've got to remember most of the clients, when they got you in there, they already know your results. That's why you've been called in. You've had the relationship with you. They know what's going on in the market. You don't want to go in there just going, I'm number one, I'm this, I'm that. It's really off-putting. I know if someone did that to me, I'd be like, whatever, what's in it for me? You know, and a phrase I like to push on agents to use more in listing presentations is just a simple 2-worder, more money. That's the only reason you're getting chosen for the job, is at the end of the day, the client thinks they're going to get more money with you compared to agent A or agent B or agent C. Your presentation, everything about it, your pricing strategy is going to end up getting them more money. The way I do an open home is this, and that's going to get more competition, which is in the end result is going to mean you're going to get more money. The way that we either auction or put price on it or whatever, I think this is the best way to go because it's going to get you more money. And every part of your presentation needs to reflect that the client's going to get more money, because at the end of the day, that is all they care about.
So Dan, let's just extend on that point. If you can show them you're worth more money, if you can show them your home is worth 10% more with me and Plum, what you've done is basically said, I'm 1% dearer, but I'm 10% better. You're 9% better off going with me. So in fact, this objective, this strategy, this advice is going to help you get higher fees.
Yeah, 100%. I'm the cheaper agent at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, it's how much money are you going to have in your pocket at the end of the transaction. With me, you're going to have more money, even though my fee is slightly higher. You're still ending up with more money. I'm the cheaper agent, right? Number 3, Tom.
Dan Lee, the third best piece of advice I've been given in 38.5 years of real estate, not 40, rounding it as it is, not up as we do in real estate, or in pricing at auction, some rounding down, is a philosophy on prospecting. And today, Dan, we spent half our session on prospecting, and one of the reasons people suck at prospecting is they don't like doing it because they don't like the feeling it will give the prospect, because they're picturing, what if that was happening to me? Simple shift. Don't treat them like prospects. Treat them like students. Because when they're a student, you don't have commission breath as much. You're sitting there and you're saying, did you know this? This thing affects this. As you said to me in the role play that we did, where you were the agent and I was the vendor. Tom, your home might be worth money because of this new sale that took place 2 days ago in your street. So when you start looking at people as students, your whole approach to prospecting is, I'm doing them a favor, I'm educating them, I'm helping them become smarter, and you'll do more of it because you feel like you're being a value-added provider. Show more, do more, give more.
Yeah, beautiful. When you start to understand that all you're trying to do when you're prospecting is build a relationship, and that relationship is built off genuine conversations. So if you have some relative information you can share and just treat them like a student, 100%, and you treat it, give it high energy, and don't worry about a bit of rejection, you're going to get better responses. If you're not always going in for the kill, are you looking to sell? Are you looking to sell? People don't like that. You treat them like a student, you give them information, and if they want to go to the next step and talk to you about selling, they'll let you know, right? They'll tell you if they want to sell. So I absolutely love that. We did some great scripts and dialogues today. We might have to do another episode. It's probably not time for today, but I'd love to do an episode with you where we just role play. Cold calls, listing.
Tom and Dan doing scripts and dialogues. Let's put them out of a hat and we'll both have a go at them, because that's what real life is. They throw things out of the blue, and we know that they're all predictable. I'm not in a hurry. I don't want to give it away. The other agent's cheaper. The list goes on.
Mate, we're doing that. Next time you're in, it's Tom and Dan prospecting calls, half an hour.
Dan, I think if we do that and we nail it with the most common objections, I think that video will get not only engagement in Australia, it'll get engagement across the whole world.
It'll go off. People love that. And that's what people need the training on and motivation on, is how to do those calls, how to overcome objections, how to turn a no into a yes, and get the opportunity to have a walkthrough appraisal or stay in touch with market updates. So important. That's how you build pipeline relationships. That is the foundation of real estate.
Hey guys, just quickly, if you're loving this content and you're a real estate agent that's already thinking what it might be like to have your own real estate business and brand, then check out the show notes. There'll be a link to our Plum Partners website where you can leave an inquiry and me or one of my team members will reach out. We help agents to create, run, and grow their own real estate business and brand so they can earn more and set up a better future for themselves. So get keen, get in touch. Now let's get back to the episode.
We're up to number 4. What is
Dan.
it? It's about recruitment.
Yes, the fourth best piece of advice I've been given came from Rupert Murdoch. And Rupert Murdoch was not my direct boss, but there was an expectation as I was head of real estate for News Corporation that when Rupert came to Australia, I was one of the few people that was required, obligated, had to present to him the budgets, the forecasts and the strategy. And there was one thing that he would harp on, because you've got to remember, a big corporate company, there's a lot of people, you're always hiring people. The bigger the dream, the bigger the team, and that's relevant in real estate. And you've heard me, Dan, say it at our last training course, the pilot doesn't serve drinks on the plane. So every agent is going to get to the stage where they're going to have to scale themselves. I've never seen an epic agent achieve epic results without an epic team behind them, even if it's one associate. So Rupert's words were hire for attitude and train for skill, right? Because if you get the right character, if you get good people, if that person is not a dickhead, you can teach them the 4 foundations to real estate: listing, selling, prospecting, vendor management. They can be taught that. But what you can't teach is good work ethic.
Yeah.
What you can't teach is high values. What you can't teach is grit. What you can't teach is the ability to handle rejection. What you can't teach is empathy, right? Hire for character, train for skills.
So important. And I've seen it before, that an agent going for their first associate and that they've taken on someone that was an associate for another agent who now is leaving that team, and they thought, oh, that's good because they've already got some experience as an associate. And really, that is not the reason to hire that associate just because he's worked as an associate for someone else, because the actual job of an associate and the actual jobs in real estate in general, they're not that hard. Right? What's hard in real estate is consistently showing up, consistently having a great attitude, being motivated, being hungry, being a person that's a goal setter and an achiever. Those are the things that you should be looking to hire upon, because those people have longevity. Those people can be easily taught. And yeah, it's amazing. And I don't even look at resumes these days, Tom. When people come in for a job interview, and I don't care what's on the resume. I will sit there and I'll ask 30 questions about their life, and I'll see how they use their body language and the way they articulate, and I'll find out a bit about their job history and stuff, and what motivates them, what are they looking to achieve in the next 5 years.
It's interesting you say that. Like, the resume is not going to tell you how you feel about that person. How you feel about that person is, man, if they came into my house, would I list with her?
Yeah.
If she rang me, or if he called me, could I actually have a conversation without thinking to myself, what a jerk, right? So, like, a dickhead that's trained is simply a trained dickhead, right? So that's why you hire good people, right?
Yeah. A degree these days, to me, just doesn't mean anything. I mean, unless you're in a profession that requires one, if you're a doctor or an architect or something. But in real estate, it's an energy game. It's a game of self-discipline. And, I'm looking for those sorts of people. Great piece of advice for if you're hiring. Tom Panos here, coming out with the gold. Number 5, mate, you're 40 years in real estate. What's the 5th piece of advice?
Okay, so I say this over and over again, and I don't want to come across as being boring and having nothing else to talk about, but because something's been spoken out before does not mean that it's no longer relevant. In fact, I remember listening to some guy, one of these pastors on a YouTube clip, that said he would go over the same sermon because no one really paid attention to it, but it still had truth in it, right? And it's this simple sentence, Dan. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. We are in the business of getting prospected at some point in his life, not just prospecting them. And how do you get prospected? By putting yourself out there. And you've got to understand and accept, if you're in business, you're in show business. And that basically means that you've got to make it known to people that you're making a ruckus. That will get you in the door. So Dan, I know 1,000 people will, but I might have 30,000 people that know me, right? So I think that it is very important to your audience, to your viewers, to your team to understand it is your personal responsibility. Albanese, our Prime Minister, is not going to save you. He's not coming up with a marketing brand strategy for you. You've got to save yourself. You've got to be the chief marketing officer of your own business. And if you're not going to do it, no one else is going to do it.
What do you reckon the key strategies are then? Just like some simple, 4 things an agent can do to make sure that people know them.
Okay. So whether you choose a podcast, a video market wrap, an email blog, create a consistent piece of content that becomes repeatable, predictable, that people know that they get used to. Example, this right now is an example of that. It is called Get Keen, right? And it's done on a regular basis, and people know that this is the format. For me, I choose to be my Saturday afternoon market wrap, right? I choose to actually give a summary of what happened, but I actually pick a contentious issue that I know is going to go off on the algorithm. SLC, share like comments. So I'm going to pick something controversial and I'm going to get people to share it, because the way I'm going to get profile is if I can cut through communities. 1,000 people know 1,000 people know 1,000 people. So when they're sharing, I'm getting through new communities. So creating shareable content and understanding the concept of you have got 2 jobs. Number 1, to do the job, but number 2, to get people to find out what you actually do.
And that's good. Just to hear what he says, start with one piece of content, a type that you like doing, that you're good at, that you know that you can repeat regularly, something that you can share that's going to be interesting to the community that you work in. And you said it, and I see it every week. It comes up on my Facebook Live and stuff, your market wrap-ups. It could be your suburb report, the highest sale, the lowest sale, where prices are going, has it slowed down, are there more buyers or less buyers? Some simple report like that every week that you put out there on the socials, or it could be an email blog or something that you can do. Start there and make it consistent rather than doing like 50 things not good. Do one thing really, really well consistently and then build on that.
Big tip, everyone. Post info, not ego.
Beautiful. No one cares about your sales result, okay? Another couple of things you can do about getting out there and known. So we've got the one consistent piece of content.
The second thing is understand, no matter what role you have in real estate, you are a business within a business. And basically it means that you should understand that you will be required to invest money, not to spend money, to invest money to actually get the attention of people. Now that might be through banners, that might be through billboards, that might be through community nights, that might be that you sponsor the local soccer, the local tennis. Whatever it is, what you're doing is you're immersed in the community and seen as a contributor that brings the community together, that's not on the fringes of the community. So be prepared to do some what I call APA, agent paid advertising, not just vendor paid advertising. That to me would be the second thing that can help you actually have a big profile out there. The third thing that you should start doing is an interesting one, is start interviewing your happy clients on social media
Beautiful.
and ask them, and you'll only do that if they've been happy with you, to press the share button to share that with their friends, because all of a sudden you're cutting through their community. So you've just interviewed a vendor that sold, they press the share button, their 1,000 followers see that they're happy with you and Plum, and that's another way for you to illustrate your brand to the right audience.
And then there are people that know you, you don't necessarily know them, you haven't met their friends, but their recommendation from that friend could be the deciding factor to call you. That's just simple ways to get known, not you knowing them. Right?
Correct.
Beautiful.
So Dan, look, the only other thing I'm going to say to you is that you want to look like you're the mayor of the market.
Yeah.
Right? The mayor of the market. And that means that when there's an election, you'll notice the aspiring mayor is walking the pavement, is saying hi to the local shop owners, is immersed in that community. And what I'm saying is, if you want to get known, get visible. How about doing your callbacks on a Monday morning at the local cafe that has 30 people coming in every 10 minutes waiting for a coffee? They're seeing you sitting down there. I've got to tell you, if you look like an agent and you're on the phone while they're waiting for their latte to get ready, they're going to ask you, Dan, how's the market going? That is immersing yourself out there in the community. So there are so many things that you can be doing than sitting in the office pretending to be busy.
That's such a good point you made about the mayor thing, because like whenever the election is on or whatever for the local council, you see them. You run into them somewhere. You'll get this cold call like from someone in their office. You'll see their sign pickets everywhere. You'll see them waving on the side of the road as you drive, and you'll see that mayor, prospective mayor somewhere, and his little minions and team. They're going to get to you as well, and that's what you've got to develop as a team. Is all these like you're just everywhere. People are driving home, they're seeing your signs, they're opening their letterbox, they're seeing your name, they open their Facebook page, there's an ad for a property from you. It's just like you're everywhere.
You're running for an election every 30 days, not every 3 years, right? And you got to think about it, Dan, we're so lucky. These people have to go beg and say, can I put a signboard in front of your house to say, vote for me and my face on it? In real estate, we get signboards for nothing every day. Boards up there, right? Own the letterbox, own the footpath, own the social media, own their eyeballs, get the attention. We're in a game of attention. And the more attention you get, the more appraisals you get, the more appraisals you get, the more listings you get, the more listings you get, the more sales you get, more money.
So the keys are you got to build the relationships, and then you need to market on top of that so those relationships keep seeing your name all the time and they see you active, doing what you're doing. The busier you look, the more trust you're building as a qualified real estate agent that's going to get the best result, get them the most money. Number 6, we got 2 more. Number 6, 40 years in real estate.
40 years in real estate. The 6th best piece of advice I've been given is all the good stuff happens outside of your comfort zone. Behind the door of fear lives your best life, Dan. And I just want your audience to picture this: 3 circles. In the inner circle, the words are comfort zone. In the second circle, that goes around that middle circle, it says the stretch zone. And then the third circle that is on the outside of the second circle, the words are stress zone. So if you can picture that at any one time a real estate agent is operating in one of the 3 zones, the comfort zone is not where you want to be. That's the guy or girl sitting in the office pretending to be busy in front of the computer, looking there like a screensaver themselves. They're just sitting there like a screensaver. You don't want to be there. That is the comfort zone, right? That's like you move them and they go like that, right? That's the comfort zone. The stretch zone is where you're a little bit uncomfortable. You've got unmet needs, and they're believable and they're achievable, and your cup is not overpouring with water, so you're functioning on a state where you've got a goal, but you're not in chaos. The third circle is where you don't want to be also, and that is the stress zone. That's when you're blowing a head gasket. That's when you've got insomnia. That's when you're firing staff and recruiting every day. That's when you've got bad emotion, and emotion management is business management. So aim to always move to be in the center.
I see what you're saying, because we can go from not having business, having a goal, working really hard, no guarantee of success. It just, you've just got to stick to it, and eventually you get listings and you become busy and you get team members and you can lose control.
The comfort zone, Dan, is where I've had all my problems in my life.
Yeah.
The comfort zone is where I became fat. The comfort zone is where I became complacent. The comfort zone is where you get to a spot where you're doing okay, but you stop doing the things that got you there in the first place. And let me tell you, to everyone that's listening, nothing breeds failure like success. When you're most successful, when you've got the stock, is the beginning of you having a bad run, because chances are you're not looking for stock because you're feeling really good. I've got 10 listings, but let me tell you, Dan, when 2 of them withdraw and 8 get sold, you've got 0 again.
Yeah, I know. It's a common mistake. It happened to me, I remember, in my second year. I did really good in my first year because I was prospecting, and then I got heaps of listings. And then I just thought, oh, I'm good now. I've done the hard bit. And then I sold everything. And it was like I went back to the complete beginning, because I only had a year of prospecting behind my belt. My pipeline wasn't that big. And then, I had a really bad next 6 months of, rebuilding, because when I was busy, I got comfortable. I thought the job was done with the prospecting. I thought from then on it was just going to keep happening. And when you've got the 10 listings, there's so much going on. But in 6 weeks' time, all that's gone. They're either sold, they're withdrawn, or they're still on the market and they're just not going to sell because they're dogs. You have to focus on prospecting consistently all the time. Doesn't matter what position you're in, right?
Correct.
So that is staying outside the comfort zone at all times. And when you're new in real estate, staying outside the comfort zone is actually doing the calls, the cold calls, the door knocks, the things that you've been told a million times you need to do to start relationships, and not being and being comfortable with that rejection and those difficult conversations, which is the reason why everyone avoids doing those tasks, because they're scared of the feelings that they're going to get.
So I love having new people that come into real estate that have come from environments of high suffering, because they've had the ability to sustain being uncomfortable a lot longer than, hypothetically, the son of rich parents who's a trust fund kid. They will
Big
not
time.
Suffer and get uncomfortable.
I found a lot of the interviews I've had, Alex Jordan, Tony O'Doherty, many others, I can't name all of them right now, but the majority of those really high performers came from poor backgrounds where nothing was given to them with it on a silver spoon, or whatever the saying is. They had difficult upbringings with not much money, and they fought for everything that they've got today. And so, yeah, that's probably part of what I look for in an interview these days as well, as I look at, what's your past?
Dysfunctional, hard, dark past.
Tell me how bad your
Tell me,
childhood
how hungry are you? How depressed are you? Right.
How poor?
How much money's in your wallet?
How poor are you? Good.
Yes.
You got no money? Good. You're
Beautiful.
hired.
You're hired.
All right. Number 7, the last tip, 40 years in real estate. What do you got for us?
The last one is having a personal philosophy about the way that you view life. And for me, it doesn't matter whether you're 16 or 60, the guy or girl who has a view that the future's going to be bigger than the past is the person that wins. The great book, Learned Optimism by Martin Seligman, a professor and one of the architects of positive psychology 40, 50 years ago, says you're either going to have a growth mindset and a view that what's coming is better than what's gone, or you're going to be one of these people that has a terrible forecast and sees a future that is a lot worse than it's really going to be. So for me, it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter what stage, like in my stages in my life, even if it's a period of time that I've had to go into treatment, I still have a view that what's coming is better than what's gone. And I always remember, even when you're going through a bad season, Dan, and in real estate, it is important that people understand that most business problems are caused by non-business issues, and you've just got to keep focusing on that great Buddhist principle of impermanence. It will not last forever, no matter how bad things are, and that's why it's really important, particularly to the younger agents that are emerging agents that are watching this. Understand these phone calls, these door knocks, this interrupting of strangers who don't want to talk to you, these endless hours of long rejection and durations of unfulfilling work only leads to some small moments of elation. And if you can understand and keep your eyes on the prize and be prepared to pay that price for 3 years, that's a fair deal to get a bachelor's degree of $1 million agent. That's what it is. It's a 3-year degree to pay that price, to feel like quitting, but to stay with it, knowing that what's coming is better than what's gone.
That was well articulated. That was beautiful. But and to look at it like that, the first 3 years being like a degree in real estate, right? And you look at other professions, doctors, architects, whatever, they've got to be at uni for 5 years plus 3 years prac and whatever, you know, you're not making money till you're 40. In real estate, you stick at it hard for 3 years. If you're really good, you'll do it in a year and a half, and then you're on track to earn more than any of those professions. So keeping an optimistic attitude at all times, I mean, it's easier said than done, but I think it's something that's really helped me in life. Is I always think, as long as I've done my best, as long as I can go home at the end of the day and go, I did my best today, then I'm happy with that. Whatever problems that are going on in my life, I've always got problems. You've got problems. Whoever's listening to this, I know you've got problems. The guy next to you've got problems. Everyone's got problems. But the thing is that 99% of these problems in our life, they're not that big a deal. In 2 years' time, you'll think back and go, what were my problems back then 2 years ago? They've all disappeared. They're all gone. You've got new problems now, and they're not even big problems, right?
And a lot of people think that you should always go through life is, I've got a problem, the problem's going to go away. Listen, sometimes, Dan, I feel a lot better by saying to myself, it could be worse. It could be worse is basically using a psychological technique of comparative. And what you're doing is you're contrasting and saying, hey, it's not ideal, but this is a season. This is not permanent. And it could be a hell of a lot worse. And having that philosophy and understanding. But on that point, Dan, and I just want to finish on this point, like 3 years, and you can probably condense it into 2 years, 1.5 years to pay the price, to make more than Anthony Albanese, to make more than an oncologist that is saving lives, to make more money than a person that is sitting working with disabled people. It is too good to be true. So if you are one of these people that is watching this and you're saying, man, I can relate to it, I'm making $500,000 a year, be humble about it. Stay hungry, but be humble. Be grateful.
Yeah, be grateful, be humble. That was some great advice. We're going to wrap it up there. I love having Mr. Panos on here. Everyone loves listening to this guy. He's full of energy, great advice. He's in the game. He never stops. He's one of the hardest working guys I know. I appreciate you coming on this. Anyone listening to this, I'm sure they're going to get massive value out of it. I look forward to our next one. Scripts and Dialogues next time.
That's it. We're going to go for 500,000 views on YouTube.
Beautiful. That'll be easy with you. See you, bro.
See ya.
Thank you for tuning into the Get Keen podcast. If today's episode inspired you, please show your support with a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And make sure you subscribe on your favorite platform too. Don't stop there. Join our community of forward thinkers by connecting with me on social media at Dan_Lee_Plum. I'm looking forward to exploring more strategies and insights with you on your journey to the top. Until next time, keep getting keen.